Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how do you hold faith when the results aren't there. This could be in your career, in your business, in lots of different areas, but today we're going to use the example of your business. So, holding faith in your business when maybe the clients aren't coming in, maybe the podcast listens aren't coming in, maybe the money isn't coming in, whatever the case, it's how do you keep showing up when the results just aren't either what they used to be or what you anticipated. So, faith, let's break that down a little bit. But before we do, just a reminder, if you're new here, welcome back to the 4Q podcast. My name is Sheena Shuey. I'm a therapist and business mentor, and I help pull the very, very best out of female professionals, psychologists, web designers, doulas, HR, PR, marketing, whatever your industry. I love pulling the very best out of you and helping your mental health by creating a life that you love, by creating a business that allows time freedom and time flexibility. So, having faith. Have you ever gone on a workout regime? Maybe you've done one of those, 6-week challenges, 8-week challenges, whatever. Do you anticipate to have results day one? Do you anticipate to have abs day one? Of course not. But with faith, if I keep showing up, the results will be there. They will come. And I'll get better at this. I'll get more refined than this. This is the same for your business. This is the same for your career, but you need guidance as well. So if we keep using the analogy of, let's say it's weightlifting, for example, if somebody wants to improve in their lifts, in their weightlifting, and how much weight they can actually lift without injury, all of those sorts of things, there's really two aspects to that. One is the consistency of showing up day in, day out, and actually growing the muscles, doing all the things right, like sleeping right, eating right, nutrition. Yeah. Keeping hydrated, all of the practical things to help get there. But then also, there's going to be a point where technique is more important. So, as that person grows and grows and lifts more, there are going to be technique tweaks that are going to get them through the plateau, that are going to get them to the next level. Maybe the tweak is in their nutrition. Maybe the tweak is in the way that they're holding the bar. Maybe the tweak is the equipment that they're using. Maybe the tweak is a little bit in the hip movement or a little bit in the way that they thrust a certain part of their body, or all of these little things that they themselves cannot see. They only can fix that from having a coach who knows and has worked through this with other athletes or other things, right? So that is what I'm saying to you as well, is that in your business, you've got to have that consistency of showing up day in, day out, of actually pushing yourself to go, I'm going to push a little bit harder today. Because you can't go in and do the exact same workout every single time and expect to get results. You've kind of got to push, then comfort, then push, then comfort. So push yourself, then that level becomes your new normal, then push yourself a little bit more until this level becomes a bit normal, and just kind of incrementally getting there, right? So you don't throw 100 kilos over your head day one. Okay, it's kind of incremental of I get used to lifting 50 kilos, and then once I'm that, I'm going to do 52 and a half. Then once that becomes comfortable, I'm going to push to go 55. And then once 55 feels heavy at the beginning, and then I'm going to push a little bit more to get 57 and a half, like constantly leveling, then incremental increase. Yeah. The same is true in your business, is that when you first start, your content's probably going to be bad on social media, or maybe your offers are really boring, or maybe your branding is not that great. or the website's there, but it's not that great. So maybe the next incremental increase for you is getting your social media looking a little bit more polished. Maybe it's speaking with more clarity, more succinctness. Maybe it's tweaking all these little things. Maybe your offer blends in. It's the same as everybody else's offer out there on the market, right? So tweaking all these little things, it can be incredibly helpful. So, um, really making sure, what am I tweaking? Am I working with someone who can help me tweak these little incremental bits to get to that next level? But that's where the trust comes in, right? Of really trusting it's going to work out. So everyone I know who has succeeded has had months where no clients came in, or hosted a live masterclass where no one showed up, or has had launches where they've failed, right? And again, no such thing as a failed launch. We want to have that, that cliche of you always win or you always learn. Yes, but sometimes it just sucks. Sometimes, let's just be real, it just sucks when no one shows up, when you put so much effort into something. And so, again, it's super cliche, but taking a minute to actually recognize, oh my gosh, I made an incredible offer. I showed up in a whole new level of myself. I spoke so clearly. I know I created a super helpful masterclass, even if no one watched it. Now is the time to make those tweaks so that you've done some of the heavy lifting. Now we just have to tweak it to get you to the next level. So you've created a new program, new sales page, new email sequence, all of that, but nobody showed up to the masterclass or has bought it yet. That's okay. Let's just tweak the messaging. Let's tweak some ads into it. Let's schmick it up a bit to make it more professional. Let's add in some testimonials. Let's do some refinements to get you to another level for yourself, and then the next level, and so on and so forth. This is why mentorship is so, so powerful. And so, whatever you're in, whether you're weightlifting, whether it's a career that you need to tweak some of your skills to advance to the next level, maybe in business, you need to tweak some of what you're doing. Little tiny tweaks can make such a big difference in how much you're able to push, how much you're able to get to that next level. So, if you're listening to this and your faith is wavering, there's two parts to this. One is trusting the process, trusting that if I keep showing up, it's going to work out. Because often the people who don't make it are the ones that give up too early. And it's having faith that it's going to work out. But letting go of the how, I think that's the biggest thing I've had to let go of is I make money now in ways I had never anticipated, right? I've got my IV drip company. If you said to me 5 years ago, you're going to make money off something that's completely not in your industry, you're just going to be the business owner and money's just going to come to you because you manage the business, but you're not running it. I would have had no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what you'd mean. And it just seems so far-fetched to me, but it's being okay with that. So this sounds a little bit out there, but I had faith that everything was going to work out for me financially, that everything was going to work out for me for my time freedom, for business, and how it came in was different to what I set out. So, what I set out was to have a psychology practice. What I ended up happening is that for those of you who aren't aware or haven't listened for a long time, I set up a second business called Therapist VA, which was all about mentoring health professionals to have businesses that don't rely on NDIS or Medicare and all of that sort of stuff. And that took so much time, money, effort, energy. But that business brought in more money than my psychology business. And then I smushed them two together and I had a downturn because my community over at Therapist VA didn't catch up. And so there was those ups and downs of who do I go to for this? And Sheena's not calling herself a private practice coach anymore, even though that's what I'm doing, right? So it's all you can see those ups and downs, but I had faith that everything was going to work out. And now I I have income from several different businesses that I'm in. So I have income from businesses that I'm publicly in, that I'm not publicly in. So sometimes if you have faith in the outcome of what you're doing. So again, the reason I was doing a practice is because I wanted X goal. I wanted time freedom with my kids. I wanted more money. I didn't want to be burnt out working in a system that was broken, right? So the outcome of that was what? I wanted to have certain things like financial security, time freedom, etc. It came to me from showing up in business, but not in the way that I anticipated. And I want you to understand that that's what faith could look like to you. So let's say you show up day in, day out on social media. You keep showing up for yourself and for your business, trying to get clients into your program, say. But then someone in the media catches you. And so they might say, hey, I'm looking for someone to write a book, or I'm looking for someone to host a podcast. Would you be interested? Maybe that is the magic that happens. So you think that you're going to make all this money from clients, but you end up making money because someone in the media saw you and they're like, this person is perfect for what we need. And the how comes in a completely different way than what you thought, but it still came in from you showing up for you in a different way every single day. You stood out in a crowd because you spoke from your heart. This is why faith is crazy. And again, I'm not a religious person. I've never really spoken about faith all that much, but it's leaning in with the best case opportunity, right? Like I think so many times we're presented with an opportunity, we're presented with something happening in our lives, and our anxious brain automatically goes to what is the worst case scenario here versus what's the best case scenario? And weighing them up against each other sometimes can be really helpful. So I've been presented with something. What's the best case? What's the worst case? Same with going into mentorship, right? I just paid a significant amount, like five figures as well, which, it's a lot, multiple fives for some new mentorship myself. And worst case scenario, it wasn't great mentorship. Best case scenario, I grow, my business grows, all of that, right? And I already feel the change. Regardless of what happens, I'm proud of the fact that I do that for myself now, because an old version of myself would have never, ever, ever done that. Would have never had the faith that regardless of this investment, everything's going to work out. There was too much fear going on, right? I would have never done that. So that's how faith helps you expand, right? Like my first business mentor was $67. Then the next one was a few $100s. Then the next one was a few thousand. Now the next one's like tens of thousands. Yeah. So but I couldn't have started there. I had to almost incrementally do that. So remembering that as well, like your faith is a muscle that will grow over time, but always going into situations with, am I leaning into this with love and the best case scenario, or am I leaning into this with fear and the worst case scenario? And is it a balanced perspective? Is my worst case scenario actually realistic? Because a lot of the time when you challenge the worst case scenario, A, it's actually not as bad as what you think it's going to be, or B, you've blown it out in your mind. Like when you actually say it out loud, it's irrational. But sometimes you don't get there until you say it out loud. So for example, sometimes when I'll be talking this out with someone, they actually have a fear of homelessness, of like, if I make the wrong money move, somehow they'll end up homeless, which is very, very difficult and very, very unrealistic for most people. Because when you actually break it down, okay, well, if this happened, then This is what I could do, or I could stay with this person. Like there's lots of options, but our mind can go to a very irrational place. And then as we say it out loud and we talk it out, we go, actually, that isn't really what's going to happen. I know that on a logical level, but in an emotional level, why do I think that that's going to happen? And you can let go of that conditioning and unpack that, but you can't unpack something that's inside, right? Inside of you. The only way we can move past this is when we get it out of you. And so this is why my mentors that I work with get so much out of the voice messaging we do together because they have access to me from Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday. And so if the fear comes up, I'm there. I can hold it. I can challenge them of the best and worst case scenario. So again, if you don't have mentorship with myself or with someone else yet, the power of that is so important. But again, not everybody offers that kind of intensive mentorship too. So you've got to find those people out there who do it because sometimes the fortnightly appointment isn't enough. Sometimes the group coaching call, even though it's wonderful, maybe that's not enough. Maybe you're ready to have someone who really pushes you, right? It's kind of like the results that you get from training by yourself versus the results that you get from group training, which is a bit better, but not quite there, and versus the results you get from working with a personal trainer one to one. That is, people who work with a personal trainer one to one generally get faster, better results than the group coaching. And then they get better results than the person who's just winging it, trying to do it on their own. So I hope that that was an interesting conversation for you about trust, about faith, and it clicked something for you. And let me know, get in contact with me. What's an area of life that you wish you had more faith? Or who are the people in your corner that aren't supporting you with that faith, right? Because sometimes it's we have the faith and then someone gets in our ear with the fear. And now all of a sudden we're coming from a fear-based place rather than a love and trust-based place. So, how do we put shields up around those people? Again, reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. I'm always so interested in the perspectives you get or the epiphanies you get from listening to this podcast. Be kind to yourself today. You're doing enough and it's all going to work out. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next episode of the 4Q podcast. Bye for now.